Hello, welcome to another episode of Happier ADHD. I'm Marley Darling, and this episode is going to be all about pulling yourself back from a mildly challenging week. It's about self-care weeks, it's about rebalancing. We're going to jump right into it after I share the little big thing of the week. Oh my gosh, I've found that a lot of these little big things seem to be me sharing about parenting, right? And again, it's a parenting thing. My child, my incredibly fussy child who has such a limited diet, voluntarily tried a new food. And now, if you have not had this experience, it might not be relatable, but if you've had this experience, if you have a fussy eater, if you have a difficult to feed child, you'll know just how big this is. It's amazing. The relief I feel. Sometimes you don't realize the things that you're carrying until that weight is taken off, until there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like same with my children and getting them to bed every night. Like I knew that was stressful, but like when it started to be easier, or like when my kids just wouldn't cooperate with anything, and then like the times that they'd say, "Oh yes, mum, I'll do that," and it was like, what's happening? Like I was so ready to have to put way more energy into this thing. So that's how I feel. Like this amazing thing just happened. I feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I feel hopeful. I feel far less worried about her diet, like for the future. I'm like, okay, well, if she can try new foods, then she'll grow up to try new foods. And we can tell ourselves those things already, but the brain wants to see bits of evidence, right? So that was really, really cool. And then it's happened 3 times in the last couple of months. Well, the first time was I offered her a bribe. I offered her chocolate, and usually she just says no, but that time she was like, okay, I'm open to it. And I was like, okay, well, let's do that. I'm happy to do that. And then the next time was the other day. She wanted to try a different brand of vegetarian sausage rolls because she used to like them when she was little, but that brand stopped selling them. So she wanted to try this new brand, and she did. She was open to it. She was like, this tastes different, and it's a little bit overcooked, and you could cook it differently, mum, but yeah, they're pretty good. And I'm like, what? That's amazing. Like the flexible thinking around that, whereas usually she'd be like, no, something's wrong with it, can't eat that. And then she wanted to try some sour cream. We were eating sour cream. She said no every other time, and she goes, you know what, mum, I'd kind of like to try some. I said, oh, okay. Didn't push it, didn't say that's good, didn't comment on it, just said, oh, cool. Well, you know, not even cool. I just said okay. And then I said, well, you know, your sister really likes it. She's going to eat a ton. So maybe if you want some, we should put some aside. And she ate it and she liked it. And that's really hopeful as well, because that's a you know, interesting texture of food. So I'm like, well, maybe she'll try some different things. Hello, I'm in my pajama pants again because it's morning time. Good time for my kids to be regulated. All right, let's jump into this self-care week. I had a bit of a difficult week, but in the sense of like there's different flavors of difficulty, right? I just kind of had a big week. We had a few big things on in the last month, like big dopamine things. We were gearing up to things. There was a lot of focus. So I was coming down from that. Like sometimes I realized that sometimes dysregulation comes from coming down from life or from rebalancing. Like I had all this focus, all this energy, all this attention on these things, and then suddenly they weren't there anymore. It's like if you've ever had the experience of finishing a TV series or finishing a book, and then you feel kind of lost because those things were kind of, they were regulating you. They were giving you a particular flavor to each day. They were giving you something to focus on. They were keeping you steady by offering the same input every day. So there's been a bit of that come down from life, and then rebalancing from that. I think that was last week. And then a few challenges along the way this week as well. Now, when I rebalance, I try to readjust bit by bit, because you can't just like throw yourself back into usual routine and like force yourself to be positive. Sometimes you need a little bit of a gentle approach to ease back into it, to rebalance and get like back to neutral before you kind of add positive. So I've got 4 things to share about this week. And the first one, let's just go one by one. Let's jump in. The first one was pulling myself out of a thought spiral. So on last Monday or something, I was feeling just like negative and grumpy, I guess. I've had, because it's summertime in Australia, the days are getting longer, which means the kids have kind of been staying up a bit later. I've had less sleep. As I said, we've had all those things going on, and I just had something happen on Monday morning. I think I was tired. I think that's right. I stayed up to watch a movie because I needed, when you need the emotional break and then you're balancing that with what your body needs. So I sacrificed a little bit of sleep because I needed to nourish myself and do something for myself after all these nights with the kids. So I stayed up a little bit late, and then I was tired on Monday morning, and then I started to go into this thought spiral, and I would describe it as the brain attacking itself. So when I tried to think of something positive, my brain would just reject it and say, no, that's stupid. Like, I'm in a bad mood. You can't convince me that I like that thing. You can't convince me that even though every other day when you're feeling good, you like this thing, I don't like it right now. I don't like it at all. Stop telling me that. So this is how I dealt with that. Number one, I stopped trying to talk myself into positivity because that was too contrasting. It's like if you have Tigger and Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. There's this phenomenon in psychology when if someone's really bubbly, bouncy, and positive, it makes people who aren't feeling that way actually feel more depressed, like Eeyore. Like, not even just depressed, but like grumpier, more sour, more bitter, whatever negative feelings that it is. And I've actually got a particular person in my life that maybe makes me feel a little bit that way, even though I'm probably the positive person for other people. It's all about scale, right? So, sorry, I'm frazzled because I've had this week. For the brain, that's what it felt like. Is like, no, I can't relate to this positivity that you usually feel. No, like, get that out of here. I don't believe that at all. Like, I was saying, okay, let's just like look outside. Let's appreciate the birds. Like, usually I like the birds. Usually I like the trees. But I wasn't having any of it. It was like there was this big fog and I couldn't see clearly. Or another way I like to describe it is you're driving your car and there's the windscreen and you are the car. You are going through life. There's a windscreen, but there's a lot of crap on the windscreen. There was a lot of crap on my windscreen that day. So I stopped trying to talk it into positivity and I said, okay, you want to feel grumpy? Let's allow you to feel grumpy. You can have those feelings. Stop trying to think about all this positive stuff. But with the caveat that I wasn't going to buy into it. I used a technique that was similar to, if not, exactly, telling myself I'm having the thought that. Like, I would see the thought, recognize it and say, okay, it's fine to have that thought. But I wasn't going to spiral. I wasn't going to wallow. I wasn't going to use like the second voice in my head to go, oh yeah, I definitely feel that way. Tell me more about it. Yeah, you're so justified. I just let it be. And doing that neutralized the thoughts. So rather than trying to go positive straight away, just neutralizing them so that it didn't spiral and go any further. The next thing I did is I lay face down on my bed because I wanted to wallow. I lay down, but I had things I needed to do. So I set a timer on my wrist for 5 minutes because it was time to get going. And I just lay there and go, okay, I don't want to face the day. I don't want to have to do it. And my timer went off and it was buzzing and it was buzzing and it was buzzing. And then the person who was there with me turned off, picked up my arm, turned off the alarm and said, hey, what is the alarm for? And I said, oh, it's for me to get up and get moving. And that little edge of accountability and just knowing I had to do it, I forced myself up. I went out, I did the things I needed to do, got ready, reluctantly, right? Like when you're in a bad mood. But the thing is, when you're doing things, it gives you dopamine. Every little action, it gives you dopamine. You prepare a lunch, it gives you dopamine. You brush your teeth, it gives you some dopamine. So bit by bit, I was starting my day, getting moving, getting this dopamine, and the grumpiness was slowly fading because I had to focus on other things, because I didn't have so much time to think about this negative. And I wasn't allowing myself to wallow and spiral. Like, they were just thoughts popping in that were negative. They slowly faded, and took away that like ultra focus on the bad mood and the bad negative and the negativity and how I wanted to feel. And it shifted the balance of my thoughts, because I couldn't just wallow on all the thoughts. I was like, okay, I need to think about this, this, and this, and get us out the door. Then doing the routine as normal as possible, that helps me rebalance as well from like all this other stuff, like I said, about coming down from life. Once I start to get back into my normal routine and see my normal people and go on normal errands and like starting to get all that dopamine from our everyday stuff, then that gets me back into feeling good in everyday life. But on that day, I went and did errands, we went and did the kids' activities, and all of those things are distractions. So if I didn't have things on that day, I would probably try and do some things as normal as possible. I'd probably try and have some social time, because for me that's really great, but to do it gently, like not too overwhelming. I wouldn't go and do a big errand. And so what I did on that day is I did those normal things, but not too much. I only did what I had to do or felt like I was capable of doing. I wasn't going to push it or use too many spoons or Energon cubes. And in terms of social stuff, I wasn't going to overdo that either, like just gently and not expecting myself to be super bubbly, just like chat as much as I could, have some quiet time if I needed, and really just look after myself and let myself kind of, when you've got those really low days, you let yourself kind of just go through life maybe as a bit of a zombie, as friendly to people in the shops or whatever. It wasn't quite that extreme, but I just let myself be gentle and like took the expectations off, I guess, of being or acting a certain way or of the things that I needed to do. And I let myself be slow and take my time. And the second thing I did is related to that, was that I wanted to have a self-care evening. And in order to do that, cooking dinner early and being prepared early really frees up that energy for later, because doing it later in the day is tiring, it's exhausting. I've already used up the Energon cubes of the day, and just having dinner like an hour early and then having this time after dinner, or like, I was preparing dinner like an hour early. I don't think we ate, half an hour to an hour early. It allowed this time after dinner to just slow down. Like, I could take a load off in the evening because we ate quite early. And after dinner, we got to play board games. Like, me and the kids just sat around. I lay down on the lounging floor on our beautiful puffy mat, a foam mat, which is so comfortable. And then my kids did snack a little bit, but it didn't go as late as usual. I had the energy, I guess, but I think they mostly did it themselves. But to be able to have that rest time after dinner, whereas usually I'm like standing in the kitchen for such a long time, like clean up the kitchen, then the kids want to eat again. It was just so good to have that load off. And then what I try and do as well is to have time in the evenings to myself after the kids go to sleep. And this hasn't really been happening because of the light being later, because we've got daylight saving here and it's not dark until like 9 p.m. The kids have been staying up a little bit later, because at like 7:30 p.m. it still feels like it's 5:30. But last night I managed to get them to sleep at a bit of a reasonable time. It was like 8:15, and then I went and had a bath. I was like, I need to just relax. But I kind of, when you have different needs, like I always look to what I need, what would help me feel better. And my body needed a bath with magnesium salts, but emotionally I wanted a bath as well, but to watch a movie or watch some TV and just zone out and have a break. So I brought my laptop into the bathroom, not into the bath, into the bathroom to a safe distance away, and I watched something while I was in the bath to nourish myself and look after myself. And then I got out of the bath and I had a nice snack with some fruit and yogurt, and I still got to bed at a reasonable time, which was good because I also needed more sleep. So I'm trying to meet all these needs and see, well, which is the most urgent. So emotionally, I needed to have that night last night and enough sleep, but hopefully I can be meeting all those needs and really catch up on sleep soon, now that I feel emotionally better. It's this dance, it's this art, it's the science of learning how you work and seeing what you need. And I, of course, use my 5 pillars for that. I've got the body, mind, emotions, environment, and then your soul. So nourishing all of those and making sure all of the pillars are steady enough to hold you up and help you function well and stay stable. So that's how I use that, is checking in. And my third point is similar to all of those. I've kind of gone over it already. I say readjusting mentally, emotionally, and with my nervous system. So bringing normal life back. Self-care gradually brings the balance back. So like I said, in all those pillars, like holding it up. And then after I've got that functioning, bringing back the good. So the basic layer is basic functioning. And then above that is more joy, more fun, feeling even better. So rather than just feeling like you're functioning, it's feeling better. So walks, good food, having fun, noticing the good things around me. Like I said earlier, the birds and the trees, and I can actually enjoy them. And bringing that all back gently. Like I wouldn't go straight back into, oh, let's do this really big thing. It depends on the mood. Sometimes maybe I'd need a big thing, but I think gradually bringing these things back works best for me in this particular mood. So that's kind of like asking myself, what can I manage? What do I have the energy for? And taking these little incremental steps to get back to where I'm like, okay, I can do all the things. The other thing is having these lower moods can actually increase connection. It can really, at least for me, slow me down. Let me think about, okay, well, what's like work? Sorry, I'm really stumbling today because I'm just a bit not in my best. And now I've lost my train of thought because I interrupted myself. Oh, reflecting. Being in a low mood can help with reflection, and it can be a good test to say, okay, well, what are the things that I can do when I'm low mood? What are the things that stick? What are the things that can be consistent even when my functioning is low? Rather than like sometimes what we do, ADHD is to bring in this whole new routine and go, okay, I'm going to do all these things. And that can be great but unsustainable. And that's where we get these big peaks and troughs of like, oh, we did this new thing and it worked, but then it didn't work. And oh, I took on this new exercise routine, but then it didn't work anymore. My approach is to make it much more stable, much more sustainable, and able to be consistent over a long period of time, because having these peaks and troughs, that's something that makes ADHD really hard. That's what a lot of ADHDers feel, is like sometimes I've got it all together, sometimes I don't have it all together, or sometimes I feel great and sometimes I feel terrible. Whereas what I've been doing for the last 18 years of my life is finding how to feel steady. And that's why I created those 5 pillars, and over that last year really perfected them to feeling like, okay, I know how to stay stable and steady. I know how to get back on track. Like I've been saying, I've had this week that's kind of tried to shake me a little bit, but I know what I need to get back on track, and I'm feeling like the energy is coming back and nothing fell apart in the meantime, which is amazing because that's such a common thing, right? That's how it used to be in the past, is I would burn out all the time. I would drop the ball. I would not be able to be consistent, but I've learned how to do it flexibly, how to meet my needs, how to get back on track as soon as possible without that push to do it, because the push doesn't work. What you need is that inside out fix for what's actually going on in your nervous system, in your regulation. So that's what I've got down the bottom here, is not to push it. I got told, I think it was yesterday, by a friend that I should take another mental health day. They said, just take it easy today. And I thought, well, how many mental health days can I take? Because I want to be doing things. Like, what is it with millennials and these mental health days and taking things easy all the damn time? Like, surely I can do more. Surely I can function better. Like, think about boomers. They worked 9 to 5 every day, and if life was stressful, you just got on with it. But my friend said, they lived in a completely different world. And I thought, well, is that really true though? Like, we're still humans. And then I realized that actually our baseline for stress, like, we wouldn't even notice it. As millennials, you wouldn't think on a good day that you're stressed, but we use our phones all the time. We're being bombarded by content, by media, by news, by information. Whereas back in the day, like 60 years ago, I'm just picking a random number. What's 60 years ago? In the 60s, even, later than that, 80s, whatever. I suppose people would have read the news, but like, you would have your simple life and it would be a bit more predictable, and you'd have stressful times, but there was like the expectation you just go to work and every day is kind of the same, which sounds kind of boring in a way, but I can see how it would be less load on you mentally. So we live in this world that has, like I said earlier, the weight coming off my shoulders when my kid decided to try a food. We don't notice the things that are on our shoulders. There's things going on in the world. There's so many things going on in the world. There's so many things to think about. There's so many different opinions out there. There's a lot on our shoulders already. And we don't have the same things as people had back then. You couldn't just go to uni, get a job, save up for a house, and then in a few years the house would be paid off, and then you have your kids and you have this expected path. Now there are so many paths, which can be overwhelming and confusing, and it's hard to know what to do, how to live as a human, because there are so many choices. So that is a huge mental load, and it's so different. And that's our baseline. So when things actually happen in our life, that's like going above this baseline, right? And it's a lot. So for millennials to be prioritizing more of this self-care is a good thing, and it's adapting to our life as it is now. It's adapting to our needs. We need to look after ourselves because we can't just be burning out all the time. We can't just be overloading by everything that's happening in life. So that was an interesting point and a valid point. And those are the ways that I've kind of been readjusting to life this week. And we'll see. This week I've got another busy week, but I'm feeling that energy coming back. And I think I did really well this week, because not only was I readjusting, but life threw some curveballs and some stressful situations, and I stayed strong enough in the way that I didn't necessarily feel like I was being strong, but that I just took it easy, let myself take time, let myself process the things that were happening. And having a few days where I'm taking it easy is so much better than catastrophizing, having panic attacks, feeling like life's really hard, having something that doesn't get processed and then, is just on your mind for weeks. All of those things, like sometimes having a stressful event can really impact us and really throw us, and other times we can manage it. And I feel like I did quite well to manage the stress of this week and adjust to it in a way that this coming week, I should be feeling fine and normal and getting back to usual, even though it's going to be a bit of a busy week, but not so. Anyway, don't need to go into it too much. The last thing I want to talk about today, which is, tied into that, but I want to give a little update about the year of yay. I know last podcast episode I talked about my year of yay that I'm doing for 2026, and then I've already been starting to practice, to put into practice, to bring into my life. So I figure maybe every episode I'll let you know how I'm going with that. It was interesting this week because this was, like I said, a bit of a low week. So it wasn't the really peppy energy, like really, oh yeah, let's get into life. Let's have this year of yay. Let's go and do these daily beach walks and bring all these new things into life. It was just pulling it back and going, okay, well, what are the core principles of this year of yay? Am I still living them? And how can I still do them in this low week? So like I said, when you're low, it can actually be a good test to see what's sustainable. And that doesn't mean that anything you can't do while you're low, you should just throw in the bin, because there are things that we want in our life that we can only do when we're functioning better. But when you're in a low mood, you can find the things that will stick around and will continue that thread. And then when you have that energy back, you can increase it up to the higher level of things that you want to be doing. So it was less bubbly, yay, but it was still moving towards positivity. Let's see, I've just said sometimes low mood is a good time for reflection, for grounding, and for seeing what sticks and is doable. So with my beach walks this week, they've been a bit minimal because it depends on a lot of factors whether I can go and do that. I've actually said that beach walks with kids this year have been minimal. I've tracked for the last 3 years how many times we've gone down to the beach because we live near a beach. And it's gone down in the last couple of years. And I think that part of that is because I got stuck in that rip. And that's something I want to bring back in. And I made a decision the other day to let's go down to the beach. So even though it was like we'd had this low week, I needed to be gentle with myself. I thought, well, let's go and do this thing. So it wasn't a huge thing, but it was a small shift back to something that I want to have in my life. And one thing I've been really doing is noticing the choice point, because that is such a massive, the choice point is where we get our power. So it's that moment where we decide, well, what are we going to do here? What's the next thing we're going to do? When you wake up in the morning, what am I going to do? Am I going to lie here or am I going to get up? What am I going to do when I get up? And am I going to exercise? Am I going to not? When I'm bored and not busy, am I going to read? Am I going to go and engage with my kids? Or am I going to take that rest time for myself? Or am I going to do some housework? Noticing the choice point can help us decide whether we are moving towards the things we want in life or whether we're avoiding them and moving away. So it's really powerful. I've noticed this past week with the choice point, I've been making some different choices around my phone. I've been just telling myself, why have I got my phone right now? What am I doing right now? I could be doing something else. And I've been breaking the habits in regards to that phone. So like using it in the kitchen. Why am I using it in the kitchen? Or taking it into the toilet. Why am I taking it into the toilet? Or carrying it around with me because I don't want it in the other room. I've been using this choice point and actually noticing and going, well, I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to challenge myself. And I'm breaking these habits that I have in my brain that are making me use the phone too much. So it's moving towards being intentional and having minimal use, which is really good. And I'm rewiring my brain. So that's awesome. Let me see. In the morning, I've been moving towards an earlier wake time, which is great. I've been having far less morning dread, which is, I need to have a podcast episode about morning dread because I made a TikTok about it, but it needs a podcast episode. So no, not so much lying in bed and just spending a really long time unable to get up, but actually getting up. And if I can't do those morning walks, what I've been doing is, well, what can I do to move my body to get moving? And I've decided to do 2 sun salutations in the morning just to get my body moving, to get myself out of bed and to have something to do before having to choose. I need something that is not coming into question. It's not a choice. It's a pre-made decision. So I can do that. And then my brain can wake up and make the decisions for the day rather than trying to do that while I'm in bed. Let's see. Yep. So that was the alternative for the walks. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to say for this week, which is good because I was worried about running out of time. So, the foundations, the five pillars of foundation. I can't remember what I've called them. I need to catch your name. The 5 pillars for feeling better. The 5 pillars of well-being for feeling better and ADHD. They are going well. The year of yay is going I'd actually say that's going really well to be able to continue these little threads of it throughout a low week and make those choices, even when it's not this real punchy, bubbly, yay feeling. But I'd still manage to do all of those things. Did I manage to connect with my kids bit extra. I did, when we went down to the beach, I did buy them chips and icy poles as something nice to do. And we all sat there reading, and I sat there journaling and actually planning my year of yay. So I actually have done pretty well this week despite the low mood. Like sometimes you don't realize how much you've achieved or shifted or how well things have gone because you've had a low mood, but there's actually been positive things going on during the time. So I think I've done really well. Yeah, so I could connect with my kids a little bit more intentionally, even though that's being near them. The late nights haven't helped, but we are readjusting. We did really well last night, going to do well tonight. And yeah, we'll see how it goes as I bring this energy back up. Now, to close out, letting go versus letting in, what I'm letting go of is subtle negative thoughts, negative speech, subtle judgment, and this subtle grump and complaining. I've started to notice that actually I complain, and someone told me, oh, you're such a positive person. I said, I am not a positive person. If I'm given a problem, I'll be hopeful, I'll be positive in that sense. I'll be positive when I'm intentional and conscious about it, but I can actually be quite negative. And I did a lot of work back in the day. Since I was 14 years old, I've been working on mindset, psychology, personal growth, and the neuroscience and behavior science. Like when I was 14, I started making these little shifts to make myself more positive and just make choices in my life that would be beneficial to me. So I've been doing that since I was 14 years old. And in my mid-20s, I was really active in choosing my thoughts and becoming more positive. And then I went through some really hard years, and I've just been more negative since then. So I want to get back into that. I want to get rid of this subtle complaining, and even if it's not harmful complaining, just this low level negativity, like, it's raining, even though I probably wouldn't complain about rain. That's a poor example. But like, being late or having a difficult day or the kids being difficult, I don't want to complain about those things. I don't want to get in the group chat and say, oh, this annoying thing happened to me. Even though it's a way to connect with people and share, I've been noticing that choice point a bit and saying to myself, well, I feel like I want to share this thing, but it's actually not beneficial to anyone. It's not beneficial to me to reinforce it. So maybe I can just let it go and focus on something else. And I want to do that with my thoughts. I want to do that with my speech. And it's not erasing a certain part of yourself. It's just choosing what you're going to focus on, because we can choose. We're going to focus on the negative here or the positive here, and how we're going to interpret this situation. Like the kids staying up late, that could be really annoying, or it could be a beautiful thing because they're enjoying the long days. There's always a choice in what we want to focus on and how we want to interpret a situation. You can interpret it either way, so probably choose the one that feels good. If both are equally true, why not choose the one that feels good and is positive and like nourishing and supportive of everyone, rather than the negative one. So I've written complaining about having to do things, shifting that to getting to do things, because everything is a choice. It's a choice whether I do the dishes or not, and I get to do them. I'm lucky that we get to have dishes, right? Okay, I've written here some of the things I get to complain about. Okay, I get to complain about them. Good on you, brain, for making that shift in that weird way. But it's true. I get to complain, or I get to not complain. But I have chosen previously to complain about mess, plans, kids, and I've written here, why complain? And what I'm letting in is more noticing those things, noticing the choice I'm making about my thoughts and speech, and shifting to a positive person again in practice, not just in theory, not just when someone comes to me with a problem and I give them like a positive solution, but actually in this everyday low level things, because I want to feel good. I don't want to feel like I'm complaining. I don't want to feel like I'm negative. And I want to bring back this genuine gratitude rather than like a surface level, like, oh, I'm grateful for this and that, or like a forced, or I don't know, I'm grateful, but but I want to be more grateful. I want to be grateful about the little things. I want to be grateful about the things that annoy me. I want to be grateful for the birds outside. I want to be grateful for all the things I have in my house. And I want to feel the gratitude within myself, not just have it said as a mental thing like, oh, yes, I'm kind of grateful. I want to be deeply grateful. And one of the ways I'll share with you, because I shared it on a TikTok, but you guys on the podcast should hear this as well. One of the ways to feel gratitude sometimes is to ask yourself, well, what would it mean and how would it feel to not have this thing? So I could say to myself, I could get up and do my gratitude and say, oh, I'm grateful for my bed. I'm grateful for my hands. I'm grateful for breathing. I'm grateful for my sight. But sometimes listing things like that doesn't get us into the feeling of it. But if you say to yourself, how would I feel if I didn't have a bed? Do I remember the days when I just had a mattress on the floor, or when I had a dodgy bed, or when I had a smaller bed? What would I do if I didn't have this bed right now? And then that can help to go, I remember when I got this bed, I'm really grateful, and it's the style I want, it's the size I want, I can spread out, I'm really lucky. If I didn't have my hands, oh my goodness, I wouldn't be able to, what did I do to myself? Oh yeah, when I was on camp, I fell over and got gravel rash on my hands, and my hands just didn't want to close, and so I couldn't do things, and it was really weird for starters, but also it made me notice we use our hands so much. And I knew this, and I've said gratitudes about it before, but actually physically not being able to tie my shoelaces or open packets, and I had to ask people for help for about a day, it really just showed how much we use our hands without noticing. Previously I've thought, oh, I'm so grateful because I can do art and I can cook and I can drive a car, but it's more than that. It's every little thing that we do. We use our hands so much. So anyway, that's a gratitude hack for you, is ask yourself, how would you feel if you didn't have the thing? I've seen a comedian talk about it and go, oh yeah, I do this thing where I pretend that my whole family has died and all my loved ones have died, and that helps me feel grateful for how they are now, which is a bit morbid and extreme. I saw that in a more positive way the other day, someone calling it 1 more minute, and realizing if everything ended tomorrow, it's like that saying, live as though it's your last day today, right? If everything ended tomorrow, or if this was the last minute you had with this loved one, or the last minute you had doing this activity that you love, or the last minute of whatever it is, whatever you want to feel grateful for, the last minute of being at the beach, the last minute of eyesight, how deeply grateful would you feel if you knew this was your last minute and you had to savor it? How would that feel? And I don't want to bring anyone's anxiety in. Don't use those if that's going to freak you out. But if they feel suitable to you, if they feel like they will help you feel this deep gratitude for how things are now, then use them. And one more that I do for my loved ones is to go, this is, insert name here, this is such and such at age, insert age here, whatever age they are. So this is Princess Consuela Banana Hammock. That's Phoebe from Friends. I might have gotten it wrong. I know it's something like that. This is Princess Consuela Banana Hammock at age 30, and she will never be this age again. And I'm just so grateful to be her friend and to look at her facial features, look at her eyes, look at her hair, look at the few wrinkles that are forming around her eyes because she's always so happy. And I will never see her this age again. Life will never be the same as this moment. Things will always change and move forward. Maybe we'll be friends in 5 years, maybe we won't. You can do this with your kids. This is my child, Alfred, at age 5, and he's never going to be this age again. And just looking through, this is a Buddhist concept actually, looking with fresh eyes, really being present, going, if this was the first or last time that I was here in this moment, that I was seeing this person, how would I feel? And it can just put you in this different frame of mind. So I'm going to wrap it up there because this is a long episode. Usually I go around 30 minutes and I've just babbled about my letting go and letting in for 10, which is totally fine. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you want more of me, please follow me on TikTok or Instagram at Marley Darling or at Marley.darling. Can't remember if there's a dot in those ones. And I would love if you would review the podcast and rate the podcast, because I'd love to reach more people. I'd love to be offering my insights and my flavor of things to more people who would like it. So if you could share it with anyone you think would like it, that would be great. Otherwise, have an excellent week, and I will see you on the podcast again next week. And I need a better wrap up. By the way, I should be filming these and putting these on YouTube now. So if you want to watch on YouTube, you can totally do so. All right, actually going now. Love you. Bye.